Hi, and welcome to another episode of the Energy of Success Summit. And today I have Christine Matzen here, and she's really, really interesting to listen to because she has a different background than the other speakers on the summit that you're going to hear more about. And she's the founder of the Oak Street Strategies and the author of Leader, The Journey to Become the Force Your Business Needs to Win. Isn't that interesting? And Christine, she worked in emergency medical services for 17 years in California, where she developed strong instincts and leadership skills as a paramedic supervisor. Working in such a fast-paced, high-stakes career gave her a deep intuition and respect for people. She continued her education in business marketing and obtained her master's degree in leadership and management. She's committed to helping people become leaders worth following. Her passion is helping leaders develop their skills and mindset that inspire people and cultivate true followers. And she believes that leadership begins at every level and is the tone of an organization, a home, and everyday life. And Christine is a wife and mother striving for excellence and learning as she goes. And she's currently living in Kentucky with her family and waiting for the next tornado to show up. Welcome so much, Christine.
Thank you so much. Thank you for having me. And I'm really excited to be here. I actually love energy work, and I attribute my being here today to a Reiki practitioner because I went through my own health journey where I was very ill and bedbound for a couple of years. And I really credit my being able to have the belief that I could heal to her. And she really started me on my healing path when I was getting some really big diagnoses and a lot of really scary information that was overwhelming. And she really helped me to lean in and to find my healing. So I think energy workers are really important. And I'm excited to help you overcome some of the challenges that you might face in that field. So my talk today is define yourself, because success starts with self-mastery.
Before you start, I just want to acknowledge you for, with your background, I don't know how far away you used to be from energy work, but to have that openness, because I can imagine, it's not my background, but I can imagine that being in the field of medical, what you talk about is not energy, you talk about the facts and the medication and how to heal a broken bone or put the plastic casting on, stuff like that.
Yeah, it's a funny thing. I think I love medicine for all it can do. And it's amazing when you get in a car accident or you have a broken bone, you really need those practitioners. And when you get something that is such a deep diagnosis and there's this rift, like you need something more. Like it becomes really, when you have that desperation, it really leads you to a different path. And it's an important one. And I think sometimes, all too often, we don't recognize the importance of it because medicine can sound very data driven, and we have all of these pathways and we don't maybe recognize the importance of the underlying energy that is actually fueling the whole planet and the people in it. But without that, we end up ill. And to get out of that illness, many times we have to embrace a different path because there's so much of us that is the energy that's flowing, that is the way we're perceiving the world. And so I think that having a mixture of both is really important. And so I'm really excited to help the practitioners today to really find their confidence and their strength to step into that power and to recognize the importance of it in people's lives because they're doing good work and it's important work.
It is definitely important work. Totally agree.
Yeah. Yeah.
And also the thing about being a leader, that when you have your own company, you have to be a leader for yourself, which I guess is more difficult than to be a leader for other people.
Yeah, I think Lao Tzu said it the best. He said something to the effect of, it's strength to be able to, master others, but it's true power to be able to master yourself. And the resolve and the work that it takes to build the muscles of self-mastery is what really allows you to go out into the world then, and to face all the challenges that you're going to face, to be able to hit the bumps in the road and still just be able to pick up and keep going. And I really focus on challenge ready leadership, because I believe Heraclitus said it best: the only thing constant is change. And the only way we can prepare for that is just to prepare ourselves, to build in buffers and to build our self-resilience and our mindset, that when we hit a bump in the road or we get taken all the way down to be taught a lesson, that doesn't define us. That's an opportunity for us to get strong, to learn a different path. So that's really what I love to do.
Amazing. Yeah. So tell us, how can we become the leaders for ourselves?
Well, I think the most important role as a leader is the leader in your own life. And I developed a very simple practice that I call Define Yourself Daily. And this is not a hack. It's not a one-day thing, right? Remember, like in marketing, we teach repetition equals reality. It's how many times we keep seeing the same things over and over. And this practice is that the more you do it, the more powerful it becomes. And it's very simple. You build out the parts, and you'll get my free Define Yourself Daily guide. But you start with making a proof sheet, because mantras are amazing, but mantras are to take you where you're going. And when you hit a crisis, or when you face people maybe shaming you for who you are or what you're going through, you need to know who you are in that moment. You need the proof, right? So I call it a proof sheet. And it's really taking the time to do a self-evaluation of everything that you have. What are you about? What are the things that have prepared you? If you can knit a sweater, you should put it on there. If you've gone to school, if you're a health practitioner, if you're intuitive, whatever it is, whatever education you have, difficult challenges in your life that you've overcome and how you got through those. These are the foundations of what make you capable of getting through the next one. So you need to have that proof sheet in your life. And then once you have that, you'll develop a little statement. Like I say to myself, Vikinger exemplify. Nobody knows what that means. It's funny. My boys laugh at it when I say it. But to me, it's a book. It's a book of what makes me strong. It's a book of what makes me capable to show up in that moment and to know that I can do it and I can handle it. And so building that proof and really leaning into it and knowing what you are. And then the next level of that is thinking about those challenges that you've overcome and thinking to yourself, what would I have wanted to have in that moment that I didn't have? And putting that on your goals list. Like, these are areas where I want to make a bigger buffer, right? Like, I want to expand my ability. And then, once we have all of that, we can go on to making our code for life. And that's your values. That's whatever it is for you that you are willing to sacrifice for and stand up for, so that you know who you are, you know where your red line in the sand is, and there's no question about it. And it doesn't need to be anybody else's values. It's what you believe 100% that you would sacrifice for. And then we do a competition, just defining that you are your only true competition. So much of our world is this outside view, and we're looking at this Instagram and the perfect mom who does it all great. And, and we don't know anything about their lives. We have no idea their struggles, their advantages, if they slept last night, anything that's gone on for them. We have no idea what that is. And so the only person that you can compete with that has the exact same everything as you is you. And I feel like a lot of times we get stuck in this, what I call the baby elephant trap. And if you've ever seen how they train baby elephants, they put huge chains on them, right? And they fight and they fight and they fight and they can't get away. And then you go back and you see the big elephants and they have little tiny strings on them that they could easily just like pull their foot away and walk away. And they don't try. They have been so defeated in life that they just don't try anymore, right? So I like to encourage people to set up very small enrichment challenges for themselves throughout the week where they cannot fail.
Can you give an example of that?
Absolutely. So let's say that you want to get into shape wherever you're at, right? So like for me, recovering from my health journey, honestly, like literally, if I could put my shoes on and walk out the front door in the driveway and do it 2 times, that was huge. So it's wherever you're at, right? Like you're just starting. If you're a person who goes to the gym a lot and you have a little bit more advanced work, you're just going to commit to whatever you're committing to. Or you could commit, like, some people want to learn a foreign language. You're going to learn 10 words a month, whatever it is.
I have something, because when I set my intention to things like that, my subconscious mind or some part of me makes me forget. Because I told myself I'm going to do a specific qigong exercise in the morning to wake my body up, and it's a good intention. It's simple to do. It takes me less than 5 minutes. So it's not that I don't do it. I just forget about it, and then I remembered it maybe in the evening. Say, oh yeah, tomorrow I'm going to do it. Now I'm blank in the morning. I just go up in my usual routine and have no thought about doing the qigong exercise. How can you come about and help yourself to remember and actually start getting into that new habit?
Yeah, and I actually love that you brought that up, because I think sometimes we try to put this habit in where we think it needs to go, right? It needs to be in our morning routine. And I would tell you that if you think of it in the evening, that's when you do it. Because the most important thing is that you do it, not when you do it.
In this case, I just thought to wake my body up. In the evening, I want to tone it down. So maybe I should do another exercise.
Yeah, like maybe some other form that you could do. But just because I think sometimes we set up these things for ourselves and then we go like, oh, I missed it. Well, you didn't miss it. We're still just going to do it. And I mean, I know for me, like I have a very structured morning, and there's all these things that people think need to go into a morning routine. And for me, I just can't do it. I can't do my meditation in the morning and all of these things, because by the time my babies get up and the kids and it's running around and whatever. And so I just say, I'm going to do it in a day, and I make it fit where it fits for me. And then I don't worry about it. And, maybe you would just set a little reminder on your phone for you for the first couple weeks or something at the time that you want to do it. And then check in with yourself and see, how are you? Maybe that's not the right thing for you. You know what I mean? Maybe there is a subconscious reason why you keep not doing that thing, and that's okay. Because if you aren't doing that thing, this is not about failure. This is about recognizing yourself every day as your competitor and having a win. It's just a retraining of your brain. So it's not really about what you do. It's just about getting your mind into the track of recognizing I'm not in competition with the world. And it's okay that that person is running the 5K and that I'm doing 15 minutes in my driveway. That's a win for me, you know? So it's just this retraining of competing in the outside world and feeling like you have to live up to someone else's expectation and bringing it inward.
I think that's also really important because it's so easy to compare yourself with someone else, and you always compare with someone that has gone further than you, which makes you feel bad. Or sometimes you compare yourself to someone that's not come so long, because then you feel better anyway, but still not the genuine you. So I really like what you say, that compare yourself to you, compete with you and not anyone else.
Yeah, I feel like it's so transformational once it starts really clicking in for you, because that comparison trap really does fall away. And then once you do that, you set your vision for life. And I really tell people this isn't about a big house or, what kind of car you want to drive, or that those can be important too. But I feel like people, they put the big house on their vision board, and then they start making all these sacrifices in their life, in their day-to-day life, and they give up so much to try and make all this money, and they miss their life, you know what I mean? And they become really miserable and exhausted and tired and whatever to have something like that. And so I tell people, really feel into like how you want your day to be. Do you want it to be filled with laughing children and a family? Or are you more driven in your life? Or whatever it is, how is the person that you want to be, and the emotions and the feelings of all of that, so that you have a trajectory that you're going towards. So you have a place where you want to show up and how you want to feel when you're there. And how does that person act in life? Because everybody kind of thinks that, well, when I get the big house, when I get the whatever, when I get there, I'll become that person. And I'm going to tell you the secret. And the secret is that in every interaction, in every decision that you make, you have the power to become that person today. And you can choose it.
So what do you do when you want to choose it? Let's say you're here and you want to choose something over here, and the distance is a bit too far for you to go in just one jump. How do you come about? And I'm thinking about, for instance, if I would like to be more active on social media, but I have a fear of stepping out, be seen, because I'm deeply afraid of being rejected, or not listened to, not being noticed. Maybe that's even worse. So I'm here and I really want to post regularly on social media to attract attention, but the gap is too big to just choose it. How do you come about it?
Yeah, and I think that is some inner work there, right? Because I think what people start to do is they let what the result is define them instead of what the effort is, right? So we're putting the emphasis on something we can't control. We can't control how many people see it. We can't control what their reaction to it is. We have no control over the end, right? And so this is what I teach, the mindset of excellence. That's what our effort is. That's what our showing up is, who we are in that moment. And so if we tell ourselves and we think to ourselves, what if I do a Facebook Live today and no one shows up? But what if I just have a topic and I'm going to talk about it, and I'm going to do a little presentation, and then I'll have some content for myself, and no one shows up? What happened? Did it make you any less? No, absolutely not. You are still an amazing, vibrant person. And maybe you just haven't found your right tribe yet. And you're just having the opportunity to create some amazing content that you're going to use later. The outcome does not define you. You define you. You decide what it means to you. You're telling yourself the story. That if people don't see it, or, maybe you're still doing the energetic work that's telling everybody that you're ready, right? And maybe that is just showing up for yourself and being like, you know what? I'll tell you, because I do YouTube. My last YouTube video had 2 views, me, my husband. So I suffer with this too, right? Like the challenge of like putting yourself out there and feeling really raw. And I am not an actress. I'm very shy. So it takes a lot for me to like put myself on camera. There's a lot of workup before that. But I just recognize like I'm just putting it out there. And you know what? It may be maybe one person needs to hear what you're saying. And maybe it's the right person that's going to open a door for you. You know what I mean? And you're like blocking off that chance because you're worried that somehow someone not showing up is defining you, but it's not. What's defining you is that you have the perseverance to step out. And I do tell people, evaluating your personal risk threshold is important, because you don't have to go all the way into Everest on the first day, right? So maybe you don't need to do a live. Maybe you're just going to start with some sort of, picture and a post, or a short video, or something that just kind of is putting your toe in the water and getting you out there and getting you more comfortable with it. When you start to climb or something in life, you don't go to, Everest on the first day. You start at a rock wall. And you get used to like just putting a harness on and like stepping onto the wall, right? And then you build the muscles for the next thing. It's okay to do it slow and in a stepwise fashion and to get more comfortable with it. But don't ever think that the result on the other side is what defines you.
I just remembered a story I heard years ago. And that was this man, he got this calling from God, and God said, go and push that rock, big boulder. And the man went out and pushed the whole day, and the rock didn't move. And he did it the next day, and the next day, and next day. And he was really, serious and wanted to follow God's advice. And 1 year had passed, and the rock still didn't move. And now this man was feeling so, well, I have done what you wanted, but the rock is not moving. And God said, well, nothing had changed, he said, because the rock hasn't moved. Well, if I wanted the rock to move, I would have let it move. But look at you, how strong you have become, what resilience you have, because you've been out there pushing that rock every day for a whole year. And it's so easy to get trapped into see that nothing happens, but that is never true. As you said in the beginning, change is the only thing that is constant. Mm-hmm. So we are changing, and how we define ourselves decides how we are changing.
Yes. And I think all too often we forget that life is non-linear. Like with my healing journey, it was, little leaps forward and then back, and then some leaps forward and then back. You know what I mean? And it was in the trusting that my body had to do something else. There was something internal going on that was healing, that was going to help carry me over to the next one. But it didn't all happen at once. Like there were so many plateaus and backslips and everything in that process. But at every time I had one of those changes, or I had to just be steady, I built resolve. I built this inner strength that helped me to be able to get to the next one. I think sometimes we curse the bitter, if that makes sense. My grandma always says the bitter goes with the sweet. She used to tell us that all the time when we were little. And I never really understood what she meant until I was really taken down to my core. And then I really understood. And she used to always say that when you taste the bitter, you recognize the sweet. And it's true, because you really recognize the gratitude and everything for the smallest things. And so don't curse the challenges that are coming, because they're bringing you closer to that capacity, to that resilience, to that ability that you need to be able to face whatever is coming. And life is always going to bring challenges. If there's anything being a paramedic for 17 years taught me, is that when you least expect it, something's finding you.
Wonderful. I really love that you have the background you have, and experience, and having that and moved into the field of energy work and the field of teaching people to become a leader of their own lives. I just sense it's like having more depth to what you can give to other people.
Well, I think that's true. And I think that you'll find that too with your energy workers, is that a lot of them come to it because they were called to it because they went through their own crisis. And I think that there's something so valuable in the power of having the belief to overcome something and then getting the wisdom to share that with the next people who need it. And that's why I say I think it's really valuable. And I think all too often, when we hear energy work or something like that, there's a tendency for people to go like, oh, that's not scientific. It's woo-woo. Well, our whole world is woo-woo. I hate to tell you that. But there's something in building a personal resolve and in defining yourself, because people will always shame you. And you get to choose whether or not you accept that. For instance, I'm a celiac, and that was part of my healthcare journey. And I've gone through many dietary issues trying to figure it out. And I have a very strict diet that I eat, and I have a lot of gratitude for it, because it's literally like the only 2 foods I can eat, and I'm not on IV therapy anymore, and I can chase little boys. But even knowing how sick I am, and, people will still shame me for not eating in restaurants, or, not eating at their house, even though they know like I was bedbound for 2 years. So there is something in like building that resilience to know when you're in the right place and you're doing what you are called to do, and to really take strength in that. Because every time that somebody shames you and you compromise yourself and you lose who you are, you give them your power. You don't need to compromise yourself. You're right where you're supposed to be.
I think that is so important, to really recognize your own needs and set boundaries. And not letting other people step over them. And I think it's so important also especially for women, because we're so trained to serve. And I spoke to a lady just a few days ago, and she said, well, I can be so present when I'm with another person. And I said, yes, but are you present with you? Because her issue was that she didn't want to go to bed, because she was so immersed in the work she was doing, and she had a full-time job during the daytime. And I could sense that she felt she needed to be with herself in the evening, and that's why she didn't want to go to bed. And just realizing that yes, she is so present in whatever she's doing, but she's always outside of herself. So when she comes home at night, a part of her is craving her attention. And when she realized that, I don't even drink water when I'm thirsty, I just don't even notice it. And just noticing, starting with simple things like that, to answer the needs from the body, and then to take steps out from that in a bigger way.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, that's why I teach the self-mastery and the leadership, because you can't pour from an empty cup, and you can't give what you don't have, and you will make yourself sick or resentful or toxic in some way if you try. You have to honor your humanity and take care of yourself. You need sleep, you need nutrition, you need that meditation, that connection with your breath and your body to know when something is coming in for you. And nature, getting out in nature and, seeing the bigger, grander scape of humanity in its whole, not just what we see on social media or whatever is in our views, recognizing that we are just a small part in this larger continuum of this lineage that will continue is so important and grounding into who we are as humans. But I am always teaching individuals that to lead, they must first build in their own reserves, because that's how you have difficult conversations. That's how you make the hard calls and stick by them. It's like, if you've seen The Karate Kid, I'll date myself here. And that was very popular for me. Mr. Miyagi is taking Daniel's son out, and he says he'll train him to do the Kung Fu. And he takes him and he makes him paint the fence. And he makes him, sand the boards and do all of these things. And finally, he's so frustrated and he's like, why am I painting your fence? But what he's not realizing is that that is what builds the muscles. So now he just needs the little techniques. And that is the self-mastery and the resolve and the emotional temperance and all of the stuff that you're building in your life every day through your personal mastery work that is giving you the muscles to make it through anything. It's what's helping you to be able to make decisions. It's what's helping you to be able to have difficult conversations. It's what's helping you to stand your ground when someone tells you that they don't like you or that what you're doing isn't what they expect of you. And for you to say, but that's okay, because you have that resolve and the resilience in your life. So it is really important to take care of yourself.
Do you feel that when you build resilience like that, that it builds on top of each other? Or do you feel that you have to, can it go backwards? Or do you come to a point and you can relax at that point? Or how do you see it?
Relax. I think that, to whom much is given, much is required, right? So I think that everybody, you're still going to meet challenges. For instance, on Thanksgiving Day, my son broke his femur.
Yeah, how is it with him?
He's doing great. He's doing great. Yeah. But in that moment, I had to really, since my health crisis and everything I've gone to, I don't do great at hospitals anymore. It evokes a lot of anxiety for me. And I had to, in that moment, just really dig into that challenge and be like, no, I've got this. And here's mom in the ER, and here's mom stepping into a helicopter for a meta flight and 3 days in a hospital 3 hours away. And you know what I mean? And that was a challenge for me, but I had built the capacity to be able to handle it now. So it doesn't mean that you're not going to get challenges, and it doesn't mean that you're not going to feel them, but you recognize that they're a challenge and you've built the resilience that you can take it. You know what I mean? And so there is a confidence in that. And there's, you still have some feeling that, yeah, you're in a challenge and this is difficult, but you're not breaking. You know what I mean? It's not going to break you. It's not going to define you in the moment. It's not going to whatever, because you have what you need to meet it. And then you're going to be stronger for the next one.
I just had this thought that with building resilience is like, exercising a muscle. But if you don't keep using the muscle, it goes weaker again. So that
Yeah.
was why I asked the question. Got that
No,
in
I
my
think
mind.
it's a good one. I do think that is a good one, because I think people are afraid to build resilience. We've
Mhm.
kind of become afraid that we'll make a mistake, or we'll make the wrong choice, or what will that say about us? You know what I mean? And you are not defined in one decision. And usually what's going to happen is that you need to make a decision in the moment, right? Leaders have to make decisions in good times, bad times, crisis times. They can't just sit and wait. Like, you can't put your head in the sand. You have to make a decision. And you have to take the information that you have in the moment and your intuition and your knowledge, and you have to make a decision. And you know what? Everything might change tomorrow. Think of all those businesses at the beginning of the pandemic that had expanded or changed or done all this stuff. They followed their data. They've done all of these things. They set out on a course, and all of a sudden, all of their businesses were closed.
Yeah.
Are they an entrepreneur? Do they not know what they're doing? Do they not know business? No, absolutely not. The definition is not in the decision that you make. It's in your ability to recognize when you need to have tactical flexibility and not to be emotionally tied to that decision like it's the biggest sunk cost you've ever made, and that somehow that's saying something about you, because you're just going to ebb and flow with it. You're going to take lemons and make lemonade, and you're going to figure out the next step, and then you're going to figure out the next step. And failure is amazing, because it's just like when we had the winter here recently and the power went out. Guess what? We got to use our new wood stove and it wouldn't light, right? Our wood was wet. We failed. We failed that test, right? But that's great, because it gave us the opportunity to figure out how to make it the next time. If you're never tested, if you never get the opportunity to see where the gaps in knowledge are, or to figure out what you need to learn or do or make better, you can never grow. You can't ever get better. You need to have those opportunities to be tested, to find out where the breaks are. So
Yeah.
it doesn't say anything about you. The only thing that says anything about you is that you got tested and you said, I'll fix that.
Yeah, I call it feedback. I get feedback from the outside, and how you react to it, that is the feedback.
Yes. Yes.
And then you create
absolutely.
awareness, and then what you want to do with that. Yeah.
Yeah.
I love that you say that you embrace challenges, because that is really where transformation can happen.
For sure. Everything that has happened in my life, although I may have cursed them in the moment.
Yeah, totally. They are uncomfortable, but they're still good.
Yes. I mean, I wouldn't be here. I would have never written my book. I probably would be sitting in an ambulance on a street corner right now. You know, I don't think that I would have had the catalyst to change my life or to set out on a new direction if I hadn't had a complete and total crash and burn, and
Yeah.
had to really have that total evaluation in my life and rebuild from there.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing. It's when you have a crisis, it's what you do with it. Either you grow out of it and learn. And in your case, and I know in many cases, it changed the direction in your life that you didn't know of before.
Yes.
Or you become a
for
victim
sure.
of it and get stuck. So yeah, I'm happy that you chose the way you chose, and that you were open enough to invite an energy worker that showed you something new for you.
Yes, really bless her, because she was so kind. She actually stayed in touch with me for like a year, doing like energy work for me over the phone when I had to pick up and move to New York for my husband to finish his thing. And just having that contact with her, caring about me and really wanting to make sure that I was okay was so, it really was so valuable.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
But thank you so much for this. It's been really interesting. And tell us again about your gift.
Oh, yes. Well, I have a very unusual course that I put together, and it's meant to make you think about your life and how you can change it. And it does have a portion of how to build out the Define Yourself Daily practice, but it's made
Beautiful.
podcast style. It's about how to define yourself, the leadership values, and it's all very, small podcast style listenings, and you can just listen and then kind of think about how it could be in your life and how you can relate it. And it's not a step-by-step guide.
Wonderful. It's more like a reflection thing.
Yeah, it's more like me telling some of my personal stories and how I've come to some of the realizations that I have, and
So
about
it's
how
inspiration kind of thing, or or the listeners can
it's all
look
of
at
the
it and
above.
define themselves. Yeah.
Yeah, I wanted to do something. I know a lot of people buy courses and then they become so overwhelmed, and I wanted to do something that you could just put your headphones in and go for a walk, or be at the gym, or listen in
Nice.
your car when you're driving, and have it, just spark something. And it's really about like the self-mastery, like what I was telling you about, like building in your reserves for your life, and how to put some things in your life on autopilot so that you can really keep yourself healthy and happy while focusing in on the things that you really want to do, while still meeting all of your needs. And then the final component is really a lot about quieting your mind and building your intuition as a leader so that you can really take up the front position and make the decisions even when you can't see ahead of you.
Well, that sounds fantastic. Thank you. Thank you so much. It's been a pleasure to have you on.
Thank you. I really appreciate you having me.